Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the segment of Code Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation today begins with a Rag Surat Kabir Ji. These are compositions of Bhagat Kabir Ji in the Rag Surat and Karpella. Ik Oankar Satgur Prasad. This is the invocation to one reality, a oneness that is both being and becoming simultaneously, and it is realized through the grace of the true enlightener. But Puj Puj Hindu Mue, Turk Mue Siranai, Oile Jare Oile Gade, Teri Gati Tohu Na Pai. But Puj Puj Hindu Mue, idol worshipping. The idol worshipping Hindu, death comes to the idol worshipping Hindu, and death comes to the Muslim who bows in ritual submission. Turkamue Sirnai Oile Jare, the Hindus bury their dead. The Hindus cremate their dead. Oile Jare, Oile Gadde, and Muslims bury theirs. Teri gat dohu na pai, but neither realizes the presence within. So Kabirji is cutting across religious boundaries here, and what he's trying to do is to expose the blindness of ritual dependence. So what he has done is placed Hindu and Muslim rituals side by side. He's equalized them. He's collapsed the difference between the two differences by exposing the ignorance that drives them. Different rites, same ignorance. So liberation, gati, freedom, is not a matter of external rites, but of awakening while alive. In other words, to live consciously. The second salok, which is also the Rahau here, Manare sansare and gahera, Jahon dis pasreo hai jam jevara rahao. Manare, addressing the mind, my mind. The world is steeped in deep darkness. Sansar and gahera. Gahera is dense. Jahad dis pasreo hai jam jevara. In all 10 directions, this is the standard Indian model, 10 directions, all directions. Across the 10 directions is spread the news of death. So the news of death is everywhere around us. And what is this news of death? It is really the ego's habitual conditioning, habits, conformity. It is the ego that strangles our self-awareness long before biological death. So Kabirji is inviting us to recognize that mortality and illusion surrounds us, and only awareness can cut through. And then in the salok following, Kabit pade pad kabta muwe, kappad kedare jai, jata tar tar jogi muwe, teri gat inhe na pai. Another set of people, the poets, reading poems, delivering poetic recitals. Even they cannot escape death. Kabat pade pad kabata muwe. Nor can the pilgrims who wear religious garb and trek up to the summit of Kedarnath, one of the holiest spots in the Hindu pantheon. Jatadhar thar jogi muwe, the matted hair yogi, is consumed, dies too, is dead to his inner self. Inhe gat inhe na pai. None of them have grasped the essence. So here, Kabirji is dismantling just about every pursuit, aesthetic pursuit, knowledge, art, poetry, and retreats to mountaintops. They're all false refuge because they're divorced from awareness, from inner awareness. And when you do anything divorced from inner awareness, it is essentially hollow, emptied of meaning. So you have the poet caught in his ego, drowning in his own words. The yogi consumed with posture. So the point here is not rejecting the activity per se, but to expose ego identification. When the ego claims piety as property, one remains in bondage. The third one, Darab sanch sanch raje muwe, gadale kanchan pari, ved pade pad pandit muwe, roop dekh dekh nari. Now here, he's giving us the example of rulers, kings, hoarding and amassing great wealth. Kabirji says that has not saved them from death. Darab sancha sancha raje muhe. Many a king lies buried under the weight of their wealth. Gadale kanchan pari. Death does not spare the scholarly pandit either, who passes on reading scripture. Ved pade pad pandit muhe, and gazing upon the beauty of form. Roop dekh dekh nari. So here Kabir is turning the mirror onto power, to intellect, to desire, which represents control, certainty, and pleasure, the three great illusions that dominate human life. The king's hoard becomes his tomb, the scholar's pride becomes its blindness, and sensual attachment the trap. So anything untouched by awareness is death. Conclusion, Ram naam bin sabbe bigute, dekho nirkh sarira, har ke naam bin kin gat pai, keh upades kabira. Without awareness of the wisdom of the name of the all-pervading Ram, the self, the creator, the name being the ocean of virtues, we remain corrupted. Sabhe bigute. And he's challenging us to look and examine this fact closely, namely our body consciousness. Dekhe nirakha sarira. Because we identify so strongly with the body that we are dead to the consciousness within. So without Naam, or the wisdom of the Har being, one cannot find liberation. Kaha Upades Kabira, this is Kabir's message. So it concludes where it began, with Naam, the living remembrance. So it is that inner presence that we must grasp. Without that awareness, all human endeavors essentially decay. They are corrupting. So essentially, the final address to the body is indeed very penetrating. It reminds us that our identity with the body is the real idol worship, the real mosque that we bow to. So to know Naam is to unbind from this false center and awaken to the eternal pulse behind all forms. So it would be good for you to take a few minutes and ask yourself, what attitude do you carry within you? For instance, if you were to look at somebody else's practice, religious practice, how do you feel about it? Are you judgmental? Are you convinced that only your practice matters? Think about it. And if you are indeed engaged in any kind of religious practice, do you know why you do it? Or is it just a habit? Just some thoughts to ponder. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.